If I was starting my investment journey all over again and I was given an option to invest only in an ETF, these are the 3 ETFs that I would invest my money and allow these ETFs to do all of the hard work for me. Please mind you that this is not an investment advice. Everything I'll be sharing with you in this video is strictly for educational purposes only. They are based on my own personal opinion and my own personal research. So before you consider investing in any of these ETFs, it will be in your best interest to also carry out your own research. So to begin with, what exactly is an ETF? An ETF simply means exchange traded fund. It is the same thing as stocks. The only difference is that an ETF is a basket of stocks. So instead of investing in just one company, you are investing in many companies all at once. And there are different advantages of doing that. Number one is diversification. By investing in an ETF, it helps you to diversify and invest in many companies all at once. So that way, it also helps you to lower the risk. And that's the second advantage of investing in an ETF. Remember, I said that an ETF is a basket of stock. So you want to see an ETF like a basket of fruits. Assuming you want to have fruits and then you go to the market, you buy only oranges and you return back home. If anything happens and the oranges goes bad, it means you cannot be able to consume that orange anymore. But when you go to the market and you buy different fruits like oranges, mango, pineapple, avocado, watermelon, and the rest, and then you bring them back home, even though anything happens to the oranges, you still have the other fruits to make do with. So that's the advantage of investing in an ETF. Because you have different stocks in that basket, even though one particular stock does not perform well at the end of the financial year, you can still make do with the profits that you will earn from the other companies in that particular basket. So that's the second advantage of investing in an ETF. It actually lowers the risk. And the third advantage is that it is cost effective, meaning it helps you to reduce the amount of money that you would have spent in buying these stocks individually. Imagine you are buying a particular ETF and maybe the stocks in that ETF are stocks that are selling for around 500 naira, 1000 naira, 2000 naira and more. If you are going to invest in these companies individually, of course, you know that you will spend more money. You spend more money in buying those stocks, and also you spend more money on transaction fees on any investment app or licensed stockbroker platform that you are going to use to purchase that particular stock. But because you are buying it as an ETF, it is cheaper. So now that we have looked at the advantages of investing in an ETF, let's look at the 3 ETF that I would invest in if I was starting all over again. Number 1 is the Stanbic IBTC ETF 30. The Stanbic IBTC ETF 30 is an ETF in the Nigerian stock market, and this ETF tracks the top 30 best companies in Nigeria. Think about companies like MTN Nigeria, Dangote Cement, GTCO, and the rest of them. These and many more are some of the companies in this particular ETF. So if I was starting all over again as a beginner, instead of thinking about which particular Nigerian company should I invest in, instead of cracking my brain thinking about which particular Nigerian stock should I buy, I would just consider investing in the Stanbic IBTC ETF 30 and then have my peace. Sometimes around last year here on my channel, I think around November last year, I actually recommended this particular ETF, and then it was trading for around 500 naira or so. And towards the beginning of this year, I think around the first half of this year, this particular ETF jumped to around 5,000 naira per unit. Yes, and many investors that bought it as at last year, when I talked about it here on my channel, they actually made money out of it. So this ETF is a very good ETF that I would consider investing in if I was starting all over again. And right now, the current share price of the Stanbic IBTC ETF 30 is around 2,000 naira. So with as little as 2,000 naira, you can own a unit of the Stanbic IBTC ETF 30. The ticker symbol for the Stanbic IBTC ETF 30 is Stanbic ETF 30. The next one is a Vetiva Consumer Goods ETF. The ticker symbol is VET Goods. This particular ETF tracks the top best performing companies in the consumer goods sector. As you know, food is one thing that people cannot do without. Human beings are consuming food almost every single day. And that is the reason why this particular ETF is a good ETF to invest in, because This ETF is only tracking the top best performing companies in the consumer goods sector. As long as people are spending money to buy food, this particular company will continue to make money. And as long as they are making money, investors will also continue to make money. So food is something that people cannot do without. Even though people are complaining that the price of food is expensive in the market, they will still bring out their money from their pockets to buy. So this particular ETF is playing in a sector that is going to be relevant even in many years to come. It is playing in an evergreen industry because both you and I cannot do without food. So if you want an exposure to the Nigeria's food industry, you can consider investing in the Vetiva Consumer Goods ETF. This ETF is focused on tracking the top best performing companies in the consumer goods sector. The current share price of Vetiva Consumer Goods ETF is around 58 naira. And at number 3 is the S&P 500 Vanguard ETF. This particular ETF is an ETF in the US stock market. It is not an ETF in the Nigerian stock market. Rather, it is an ETF in the US stock market. So what is this ETF all about? This ETF tracks the top 500 companies in the US. So as an investor, if you invest in this particular ETF, it means that you have invested your money in the top 500 companies that controls the US economy. Think about companies like Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Meta, and the rest of them. These are the companies that are found in this particular ETF. So if I want to invest in the US stock market as a beginner, instead of thinking about investing in these companies one by one, instead of contemplating on which US company should I invest in and which one should I not invest in, I would just put my money in the S&P 500 Vanguard ETF and allow this ETF to grow my money for me. The main reason why I will consider investing in the S&P 500 Vanguard ETF is because I also want to diversify my portfolio. I don't want to leave all my investment in Naira assets. I want to diversify my investment portfolio because doing that will help me to also protect my money against inflation and hedge it against Naira devaluation. The ticker symbol of the S&P 500 Vanguard ETF is VOO, and the current share price of this ETF is around $707. But here's the good thing about the US stock market. Even though this particular ETF is trading for $707, I can still buy fractional shares. Meaning that with my $1, my $5, my $10, I can still own a fraction of the S&P 500 Vanguard ETF. And you know that in the Nigerian stock market, that is not possible. If a stock is trading for 10,000 naira in the Nigerian stock market, you cannot buy it below the cost price. You must buy it at that 10,000 naira. If a stock is trading for 5,000 naira, you have to buy it for 5,000 naira. But that's not how it works in the US stock market. The US stock market gives you an opportunity to own fractional shares of any particular stock. So even though a stock is trading for around $100 and you don't have up to $100 to buy a unit of that particular stock, you can still buy fractional shares of that particular stock. So with $10, with $20, you can still buy that particular stock. So even though this ETF is trading for around $707, if you don't have that money to buy a unit of this particular ETF, it is not a reason for you to panic, because with your $5, your $10, you can still own fractional shares of the S&P 500 Vanguard ETF. So how can you invest in any of these ETFs? For the two ETFs that I've mentioned, they are Nigerian ETFs, so you can find them in the Nigerian stock market. So what that simply means is that you can use any investment app or any licensed stockbroker in Nigeria to invest in these two ETFs. So you can use the likes of Bamboo, you can use Afro Investor 2.0, you can use Invest Nigeria, or even Stanbic IBTC 3.0. So sign up on these platforms, complete your KYC. Once your account is verified and you're giving your CSCS number and your CHN, then you can go ahead to fund your account and then invest in any of these two ETFs. But for the S&P 500 ETF, which is a US ETF, you can only invest in this ETF using any platform that allows you to invest in US stocks. So you can use the likes of RiseVest, you can use Trove, you can use Plotus Neo, you can even use Bamboo. All these platforms allows you to invest in the US stock market. So once you sign up on these platforms and you complete your KYC, you get verified, you can search for VOO, which is the ticker symbol of the S&P 500 Vanguard ETF. So search for it, fund the account, and then you go ahead and invest. I have a free upcoming investment masterclass where I walk beginners through on how they can actually invest and earn from the stock market. So if you are interested in that training, you can be a part of the free training. The link will be in the video description and also in the first comment of this video. So that will be all for today. Before you go, do well to like this video, and if you're not subscribed to my channel yet, go ahead and do that and turn on the bell icon to always stay updated by YouTube when next I release a new video. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.